Zoom and boom, every pony. You like that? My new line open. At least give it a shot. What's going on? It is 7 o'clock on the East Coast on Monday, October 16th. We are live. Spiky Dash here with you. This is episode number 10 of ATSD, according to Spiky Dash. This is going to be a very, very exciting episode because this is really going to be my first pony-centric episode. This is pony only, as you can see in the title. This is going to be, usually with this show, I include, MLP stuff at the start, and then everything else just kind of gives a recap of what's been going on with me. Well, this one is a little bit different because we are making this pony-centric, because not only am I going to discuss my thoughts on the last few MLP episodes, which will be episodes 20 through 23 from Season 7, but I will also be sharing my thoughts and a breakdown of the My Little Pony movie, which I saw last week. In fact, last Tuesday, was the day, on the 10th of October. Ironically enough, and I did not plan this, okay? I didn't even know this till I actually saw it on Twitter the morning of when I went to see the actual movie. We actually saw the movie to the day of the 7th anniversary of when My Little Pony Friendship is Magic previewed on what was then known as the Hub, now Discovery Family. Total mind blower. Like, I didn't even know that. I didn't even plan that date, but lo and behold, that is exactly what happened. So I was just totally mind blown by that fact. But that's what happened. So yeah, I'll be sharing my thoughts on that. So again, I have been mentioning this for, weeks and other videos leading up to this, but if you also can't see in the title, this is a spoiler alert. There will be spoilers in this episode. So again, I forewarn you, if you have not seen the movie, if you have not at all, don't watch this video until you do, because I will be sharing my thoughts. I'll be sharing my thoughts on story, characters, songs, everything. So be forewarned. I've forewarned a lot, but this now is pretty much the last warning from me you're going to get, because I can't say it enough how much I'm going to mention. So just a heads up to you, just to keep you aware. I can't RD right now. I can't. There will be spoilers in this episode. So anyway, so just keep that in mind. But this is pony centric. So again, normally I start with the MLPA stuff first and then save the rest for the end for everything else on my mind. But this time, because there's so much to talk about, I wanted to keep this episode pony-centric. So that is what we are going to do. And I'm just going to share my thoughts on the last 4 episodes and then share my thoughts on the movie. I just kind of a little, pre-thoughts going into it. When they, kind of like anyone else in the fandom, when they first announced that there was a movie coming out, and then when they started releasing the trailers and showing off the images, obviously I could not have been any more excited. And with season 7 having been so good thus far, and with giving us so many great episodes, so many great storylines, so many great lessons. A few episodes that kind of left a bitter taste, fame and misfortune. But other than that, they're really, that's really the only episode really that I haven't really full on at least liked this season. There have been some others that really haven't been great, that haven't struck a chord with me. Like Fluttershy Leans In. That one was, okay, but didn't really strike a chord with me. All Bottled Up really kind of, didn't hit a full on chord with me. But there have been some other really good ones this season. So there's been the really good, there's been just kind of the meh in the middle, and there's been just a few that have been kind of bitter, fame and misfortune being at the bottom, in my opinion. But once they announced the movie, I mean, to me, that really got, my adrenaline, my excitement level just rising. And then the days leading up to it, the more, the more we saw, the more images we saw, the more, trailers they put out, it just intensified that excitement even more. So then once I finally found a day that I could actually see it, it all worked out. And then in the end, it all kind of worked out that, all of us, got to see it. Well, not everybody, because I think, it was just me, Nate, Matt, or no, not Matt. No, Matt and Erica saw it with me too. Sarah didn't see it. Nate's wife, Sarah, was the only one that didn't see it. She had already seen it. Nate had already seen it prior, the Saturday before that Tuesday. So he had already seen it once, but thankfully he didn't spoil anything for the rest of us. And Erica had seen it. But Sarah wasn't with us, so it was just the four of us. And thankfully, also, I will say this as well. We were lucky. We were very lucky. I know a lot of people in the fandom have said that, they went into theaters where it was either packed or it was, or there were some kids, some families there that were there. So there was even a post on Equestria Daily that said, "Don't be annoying." Don't scream at the film. Don't be stupid during the film, because it's catering mostly to the kids, that kind of thing. But we were lucky that on this particular day that we went, we were the only 4 people in the theater. We had the whole theater to ourselves. So we were lucky that we could enjoy the movie that much more. So that was a big thing, and that's why I was able to take so much from it when I did. So that was very fortunate. So it was very neat. So we'll get into that last. I'm saving the movie for last because obviously there's a lot to dissect in that. But first, let's talk about the episodes that I have seen over the past couple weeks, from pretty much this past month almost. This past, actually from the end of September to, just last Saturday's episode is now where we're at now. So starting with episode 20, and again, I mentioned on the last ATSD I did, episode 9, that I had seen episode 20, but I was not ready to put a full recap of that in the episode or in the show because I hadn't really fully dissected it yet. I had watched other, I briefly watched it. I'd watched other, reviewers talking about that episode, so I hadn't really gathered much from it myself. But episode 20, Health of Information. This one for me, it was okay, but it wasn't like, again, it wasn't like it was kind of like a middle episode. I didn't hate the episode, but it was just kind of like one of those kind of met in the middle for me. It's nice though that we got to see Zecora in 2 straight episodes. I thought that was really neat because we had seen her in the episode prior and in episode 19, and it was so great to see her in, she was in, of course, It Isn't the Main Thing About You with Rarity and the main situation. And now we get to see her here again. So it was nice to see her. And when you think about it, we saw Thorax in 2 almost consecutive episodes with Triple Threat in episode 15, and then a Changeling in 17. So interesting how we've seen kind of these, I wouldn't really call them side characters. Maybe, we don't want to call them background necessarily, but maybe side characters that we've seen now in either back-to-back or close to back-to-back episodes. So that was very interesting. So I like how they make in the opening of the episode, they made a callback to the animal sanctuary that Fluttershy was going out to the kind of the swamp area to help get some stuff for the animal sanctuary. So we hadn't really heard much about that since it was built and Fluttershy leans in. So I thought that was really neat. And they're gathering moss for it, but there's an incident as Zecora is doing, the work. She falls in the water. So at first she's just wet, so no harm done there. But then gets sprayed by this flower, and we know right away that can't be good. And just getting sprayed by a random flower, that's usually not a very good sign. And quickly she develops these orange spots, so we know something is up right away. So it's clear that Zecora has caught something, but you would think, if that happened, you would think, oh, well, this could happen to the best possible pony it could, because Zecora, we know with her potions and her, spells and whatnot, I wouldn't call them spells, but potions and that kind of thing. She usually has a cure for everything. This if it happened to any other pony out there, any other pony out there, she could come up with something, I'm sure, to fix it as well. But for it to happen to her, this is easy. You think this is easy peasy, but of course, with it being a long episode like this, it probably isn't. So, but because we think, oh, she's got every cure known to Equestria. But then we find out that it's something far worse. It's swamp fever, and ooh boy! And then we got the dramatic voice from the doctor and the lightning in the background. So it just got real. Okay, it just got real in that moment. And then it's like it got really dark real quick, because in a way it kind of then symbolizes death, because there's no known cure for it. And pretty much you turn into a tree, like no joke. Like if after all the symptoms happen, your last step is you become a tree, meaning not they can't come out right and say it, but you die. I mean that, and really, if you think about it, this season we've only had one kind of back reference to a character death with Applejack's parents in Perfect Pair, but this was just like, dang, like this is a kick to the nads. I mean, this is like complete and utter, whoa, we could really lose Zecora here. So it kind of took a real dark turn. So apparently, but they've heard this. It's kind of in a way, it's kind of their legend story in a way. They hear about this first step is there's this legendary pony named Mystical Mask, and apparently was known to cure everything out there. So again, kind of very similar to Zecora in a way. But Fluttershy is going to need some help on this, because Fluttershy now is determined, because she's taking some of the blame. She's taking some of the responsibility for what happened to Zecora, because she feels that, I'm the one that dragged her out here to gather the moths for the sanctuary. So this is partially my fault. Even though this was completely out of her hooves, she couldn't have known that was going to happen to Zecora. It was totally unpredictable and out of her control. But Fluttershy, of course, is so caring for her friends and so, respectful in that regard, that she feels like some responsibility is on her. So she is now bound, determined to do whatever it takes to, find some way to heal Zecora. And she needs some help in this. So, of course, if you need, research on something, who do you go to? You go to Twilight. I mean, obviously. So she seeks out Twilight, and they go through her entire library catalog of books and can't find anything. And you would think that, with Twilight being, so book nerdy and in a way, because that's kind of what she is. But you would think that with all that there, with all that she's learned, all that she's, read up on, you'd think there'd be something on this. But they go through the whole catalog, and there's nothing there on this. So eventually it takes like the whole day, one whole day, one whole night. And Twilight's like, we got to get some rest. We got to, we can't. But Fluttershy's like, no, I'm not going to, I can't afford to rest. I will not rest until Zecora is healed. But of course, that's very concerning to Twilight, because she doesn't want Fluttershy to get too, bogged down and resting, and being groggy, not being fresh while researching. So Twilight, but Fluttershy is determined in her ways. We know she's ever since she's become more assertive, she's kind of developing this stubbornness in a way, a little bit, not like full on, but ever since she, has become more assertive, she's starting to get that kind of, tough girl stubbornness, stubborn side of her a little bit. So Fluttershy keeps digging. Twilight goes to sleep. So then the next morning comes around, and it's one of the funniest things I have seen this season. Fluttershy comes in, wakes Twilight up, and Twilight and the reason she says it kind of in a way, I guess in a way, is because Twilight. We saw a scene earlier in the episode where she's cooking, and she's doing like a baking cook-off thing with Spike, and we didn't even know that Twilight had this like cooking ability. It's kind of a new thing, and so she's looking here, and and she's sharing, her creation with Fluttershy. Which one's better? Is it my cauliflower bites or Spike's? I think was making something else, or no. Twilight was making like sweet potato something, and Spike was making the cauliflower bites. And so Fluttershy says, "Well, I like them both." And so Twilight now is like dreaming in her sleep about cooking, and Fluttershy wakes her up and she just goes, "Non-stick pans." And I'm like, I cannot help laughing as I'm watching that. Tara Strong must have had just a blast recording that line or this episode, because that was just one of the funniest things. And so Fluttershy apparently did some deep digging overnight, because she did some cross-referencing, did some deep research. She made a reference to Ponish, which I guess maybe was an original language that they maybe spoke originally, and there's also another reference to it later in one of the other episodes. Actually, the very next episode after this one. So she makes a reference to that, and maybe that's foreshadowing for something else later on down the line. And they discovered that the mystical mask was none other than a pony called Mage Meadowbrook. So this is kind of tying into the legends we've seen. We've seen a lot of legend stories throughout this season, and now they come across who this is. And apparently Twilight knows who this is. So this gets even more crazy in that regard. So now it kind of goes from a kind of history lesson to more of a journey episode, because now we go on this journey to find any evidence that there was a cure, because obviously with this pony being so long ago, she apparently lived ages ago, and then she disappeared without a trace. But so we have to go on this journey to find anything that we can find. But we then come back to Zecora, and she's starting to get worse. The symptoms are starting, that the doctor mentioned originally, are just starting to develop more and more, get worse and worse, and now to the point where Zecora is not even rhyming anymore, which that is just stunning, because we never hear Zecora in a rhyming form. So, because now you got the lightning sneezes. Well, that's symptom number 3. She's sneezing out lightning bolts. She's already coughing bubbles up. So crazy stuff. So clearly they know at this point that they have to, they have to get on it and go. So Fluttershy and Twilight, eventually they stumble upon Mage Meadowbrook's home, and it's really like out in like the middle of nowhere. Like it is completely out in the middle of nowhere. It's like in the swamps, something like that. But they eventually find it, and I love a line from Twilight. Also here, I think she made a line that any pony that lives in a tree is okay with me. Obviously making a reference to the Golden Oak Library she lived in way back when, before she got her castle. So I caught note of that. I like that line. So they find her home, and they meet a pony named Cattail, and he is apparently kind of the cleaning and maintaining this home, because of course Mage has been gone for so long, or Meadowbrook I should say. So he's just kind of been running the place ever since she disappeared. But then we do get the history lesson. We do get the history behind Meadowbrook and her story, which is really cool. The thing kind of, because the thing of it is, she even tried to find a cure herself for swamp fever when she was younger, because her mother and basically every pony was catching it themselves. So she was as determined as Fluttershy is was to find this cure, and apparently it is tied to these insects called flash bees. I mean, I'm sorry, but what is it with all the insects this season? Like the weird bugs, the insects. I mean, I know we've dealt with breezies before, but we've had flighters in the Campfire Tales episode, and now we've got flash bees. I mean, is this going to be foreshadowing to something down the line? Maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's kind of weird with all these weird bugs. I'm just saying. So apparently the cure to swamp fever is tied to the flash bees' honey, because of course it is. So, but of course it's hard how to get it, because these flash bees are so protective of their queen, obviously, and their hive. So And they're just not going to let anybody, any random pony or whoever, come in there and try to get it. And it reminds me, I know I shouldn't, but it reminds me of the Eddie Izzard thing, where his skit about being covered in bees. I made me think of that. You're practically trying to steal their honey. Covered in bees. So that reminded me of that as they're trying to get the Flash Bees honey. And as if that weren't bad enough, if that weren't, bad enough that we have to get the honey from the Flash Bees to cure Zecora, Fluttershy ends up catching it herself. And so it's just one thing on top of another. It's compounding the whole situation. So Fluttershy now catches Swamp Beaver herself. And there have been so many wild twists and turns in this episode. This was completely just getting kind of silly. But Fluttershy knows that it's up to her. There's really nowhere else to turn at this point. It is up to her to get the honey. She's got to figure out how to do it. But the thing about the Flash Bees is they're just as aggressive. They're aggressive, and apparently they're immune to a lot of stuff. And Fluttershy even tries her stare on them, which usually works on any animal. But Flash Bees, nothing. It ain't working. So kind of like what happened to Meadowbrook when she tried to get it originally, when she fell out of the tree. That's unfortunately happens to Fluttershy because she's been so worn out from lack of sleep that she eventually, and also getting now worse with the fever, she falls out of the tree. Twilight and Cattail come to a rescue, and they take her back to Meadowbrook's home. And so clearly now this is getting worse for everybody, every pony. This is clearly getting worse across the board. Zecora now we later see is we hear from Cattail that when Fluttershy asks how's Zecora doing, clearly, because again that's Fluttershy's main concern. That's why she's on this mission. She is so determined to find this cure and heal Zecora. So she's like how's Zecora doing? How's Zecora doing? She wakes up. And realizes where she is, of course. The word is we get that she is sprouting leaves, so clearly the final symptom is beginning to come into effect. And Fluttershy's been asleep for 3 days. And so clearly Fluttershy is taken aback by all this. She knows now that time is running out, and they need to figure it out. But eventually Fluttershy ends up piecing everything together, and she discovers that one of the masks, so she figures out how Meadowbrook was able to, because she read in the story how Meadowbrook was able to finally get the honey from the Flash Bees and cure everybody, including her mother. She looks around the tree and sees that one of the masks has stripes on it. Well, it has the same stripes as the Flash Bees do, as the queen. So because the Flash Bees, of course, honor the queen, she eventually goes back, even though she battled into that fever hard. She goes back, finally ends up with the honey from the Flash Bees, and heals everybody. So great ending in the end. But then of course in the end, the Doctor, of course, now then gets it too. So they got to get more and do it again. I assume that's what happened. But just a wild episode. Just a lot of twists and turns. A lot of it was cool to see a legend story in a way. The legend stories have been okay this season. Not great, but at least we get a little bit of history and backstory there. And so yeah, it was again okay episode, but again nice to see that Fluttershy was so determined in the end to heal Zecora and figured it out. So and working together with Twilight. So that was really cool. So yeah, that one was just, to me, was just an okay episode, not great. Same with the next one, Marks and Recreation. Normally I'm pretty fond of the CMC episodes, but again, this one for me, kind of again was kind of because well, okay, let's just throw it out there. It's mainly because of Rumble. Don't get me wrong, Vincent Tong does a nice job as a voice actor, but man, this character, this episode, really, again, was kind of a turnoff. Like the like just the warring of factions between Camp Cutie Mark and Camp Blank Flanks Forever. It was just I don't know. It wasn't as much of a bitter taste as Fame and Misfortune, but it was just kind of rough in the end. Again, it was nice that the episode kind of had a happy ending, but the course the episode took was just kind of like that sandpaper rough. It was just kind of grinding on me a bit. But again, usually the CMC episodes have their own kind of gravitas to them, and that's nice. So I was kind of turned off though at first by Scootaloo because she kept referencing. Obviously this episode opens with they're trying to help like the Crusaders do. They're trying to help the individual ponies find their talents and their and that's because that's their goal. That's what they do now. For the most part, is help others, find their special talents. But they're kind of getting overwhelmed. They're kind of getting bogged down. They like the one-on-one sessions. It's just too much all at once to handle. They don't have the time or the I don't know about the resources, but at least the time to handle every pony at once. But what turned me off a bit was like they kept referencing to them as Blank Flanks at least twice, and it's like, wait a minute, you kind of took that when you before you had your Cutie Marks, before you and Apple Bloom and Sweetie Belle had your Cutie Marks, before you got them, the other ponies, Diamond Tiara, Silver Spoon, they were making reference to you as Blank Flanks too, and you took that as an insult. So now to me that was kind of bad that they were saying using the same wording about them. It just was kind of odd to me. It really kind of turned me off a bit, because I would think that if you were saying something as an insult to you for so long, you wouldn't use that same insult to other ponies. I mean, to me that just seemed really, really odd. But the point is, even though it was kind of a turnoff, I guess it's become maybe a kosher comment. I don't know. But they try to come up with an idea to really help all these fillies, because again they're getting overwhelmed in these one-on-ones. But remember, and kind of a callback from Fame and Misfortune, as rough as that episode was, that the Crusaders mentioned in that episode that they're thinking about starting, because reading the Friendship Journal, they're thinking of starting a Cutie Mark summer camp. So they made that comment. So now we actually see, the plan come into practice and actually, being instituted. So they come up with the idea and they get the ground rolling. They introduce it, they kind of have a call out, if you will, kind of like in a way, it's like the old school days, and they're doing call outs for different activities. So they do the call out for, so they keep saying again, they go, attention Blank Flanks, and Scootaloo goes, and Blank Flank affiliates. What does that mean? I didn't understand that part of it at all. I was kind of confused on that as well. But then we see Rumble as he's walking by, and we know that he didn't have his Cutie Mark yet. Hadn't seen him in a long time. And Apple Bloom invites him to the camp, but he obviously does not look very thrilled about it. He stomps on Flyer, throws it away, and his brother Thunderlane comes in, who also not seen very, very often. He comes in, wonders what's going on there. They have a little conversation. Rumble flies off, but Thunderlane then sees about the Cutie Mark camp and then sees the flyer that Rumble threw away. He's like, I have an idea. I think Rumble should give this a shot. Then we go into the camp's first day, and a lot of interest. I think I counted 7 ponies besides Rumble, maybe 8. It was 8 or 9. I think was the count that was. So they're ready to get underway with these activities to try to help them find their talents. And then who should show up then but Rumble and Thunderlane. And Thunderlane is wearing a Wonderbolt uniform, and I found that interesting because I never remembered seeing him as a full-fledged Wonderbolt. But then I watched Apple Geek's review of it before I saw the episode, and we remember, and then actually we briefly saw him in Parental Guidance in the towel scene in the room there. We briefly see Thunderlane in the very front image. So if you pay attention to that, you see Thunderlane as a Wonderbolt. So I did not even know until Apple Geek referenced that. So thank you again, AG, for referencing that. Because otherwise I would not have known. So Rumble clearly, it's pretty clear he wants nothing to do with this camp at all. Like, he is just not interested. We can tell from he's just the awkwardness of him being there. It's just the looks on his face. He just wants no part of this. But Thunderlane, of course, is encouraging him, to try everything, find something, that you're good at, who knows, you might end up with something. So Thunderlane just being a big brother, being very encouraging, and that's always good. Families should encourage one another, even though brothers can fight and argue and be stressful sometimes. They also should be encouraging, especially being a big brother, and that's what Thunderlane's doing here. So, and of course, all the foals and the colts and the little fillies, they're all amazed by Thunderlane because they're like, when do they get to see a full-fledged Wonderbolt? Probably never. And I love little Pipsqueak. Just says, "Do you know Spitfire?" I thought that was so cute. And he goes, "Well, I know she'll be mad at me if I'm late," and she would be, believe me, because Captain Spitfire doesn't mess around. So he flies off, and the camp starts. And at that point in the episode, I kind of took a guess here. I took a guess, and I said maybe Rumble doesn't want to be there because maybe he doesn't want to be held to like the same high standards as his brother. And then the comment was made by one of the fillies before Rumble did the first activity, the horseshoe toss, which was inspired by Thunderlane then tossing one perfectly onto the post because, of course. And then right before Rumble attempted it in quotation marks, one of the fillies said, "I bet he's not as good as his brother." So yeah, maybe he just don't want to be held to those high standards, and maybe if he got a cutie mark, then he would be. That was just my shot in the dark guess. And so the activities continue, and Rumble, is just, not only is he not hitting the mark, pun totally intended, he's really not even trying. I mean, clearly the horseshoe toss, nothing. He doesn't, kayaking doesn't really even bother with. The step dancing, he just falls off the stage. He just goes, whoops. I mean, it's just not, he wants no part of this whatsoever. They did, though, get a cutie mark on the first day. They did get one of them, Kettlecorn, who we see in the opening shot, when she's painting circles, which I found very interesting. Actually, there's a whole story tied to that, and I think you can find that on Equestria Daily as well in their episode follow-ups. But she's like painting these circles, but with the help of another pony named Skedaddle, she ends up getting a cutie mark in writing or haikuing because they're doing haikus, and she ends up getting a cutie mark in it. So. And even in very awe moment, she thanks Skedaddle in haiku form for getting it. So I thought it was really cute. I thought it was cute. So that was a nice success for the first day. But of course, the Crusaders are, they're obviously happy with the success that they're seeing, but they realize also that Rumble is not getting the job done. He's just not apparently very good at anything, or just not wanting to try. I don't think they realize yet that he's not willing to try yet. He's just not being very productive. So they go back to where the Wonderbolts are training, or I think it's a training facility, I think is what it is. And Rumble is watching Thunderlane and the other Wonderbolts practice. Because they have I think they had like a big show coming up or something like that. So Rumble, you can tell like Rumble is very invested in his brother. I think you can tell from this scene that Rumble is very invested in Thunderlane and I guess him being a Wonderbolt. So again, maybe at that point I kind of felt like, okay, maybe Rumble, really wants to do what Thunderlane is doing instead of doing something else. So again, that's I picked up on that right away, and turns out I kind of was right, because he then mentions to the Crusaders pretty much outright that he doesn't want his cutie mark. He feels that a cutie mark is going to restrict him. He feels that it's a restriction and not something that he thinks it's too defining. He thinks it's very restrictive. He feels like if he gets it, it puts him in a box. It feels like he can't have any other hobbies, any other interests, because he feels like if that mark will mean that's the thing he does for the rest of his life. So he feels very much restricted by the cutie mark. In a way, it kind of goes back to what, and again, I hate making this analogy, but it kind of goes back to Starlight Glimmer in a way with her old village, when she was the dictator and she wanted to make everyone equal because she didn't want everyone to be special or because and different. She felt like everyone should be on a level, even keel. So it kind of in a way goes back to that. So that's his reasoning. He feels like he'd be tied down to just one thing when that is the furthest from the truth. Because again, we've seen, throughout, in numerous episodes that other, ponies have other hobbies, other interests besides what their cutie marks are. So we know that that's far from the truth. But here's the thing: the Crusaders can't force him to get his mark. That's they can't really do that, because again, it's Rumble's choice. They really, they don't want to force that upon him. So, but they know that the current group is excited. They know that they're going to keep working hard at it. So they just try to focus on with them. And if Rumble doesn't want to stay, he doesn't have to. They're giving him free will, which is totally fine. But we then see a scene where kind of between the next day's activities, Rumble tries to kind of set up his own Wonderbolt course. He's moving sections around, and he is trying to do the same thing. So clearly we see that Rumble wants to be a Wonderbolt. He wants to be a great flyer like his brother. So he's very much immersed in just he just wants to focus on flying and nothing else. So in a way, it's kind of contradictory, maybe not so much ironic, but it's kind of contradicting itself. Rumble doesn't want to be put in a box to be restricted by a cutie mark, but he doesn't want to be taken out of one because he feels like he already knows, I'm going to be a great flyer. I want to be like my brother, so I'm just going to stick to that. So he's kind of put himself in this own situation. And he says, no, I don't want to be, held to any other standard. I just want to be here, So I'm kind of I want to pick my destiny myself. I don't want it picked for me. So that's Rumble's mindset. And so he dreams of becoming a Wonderbolt. Again, kind of like Rainbow Dash, in the same way she was dreaming for a long time to become one. She's kind of in that same boat as well. But of course, also apparently Rumble has this mindset that, well, if I'm not going to get mine at camp, then no one else should either. So he then kind of becomes that, again, kind of the dictator, kind of becomes his own voice of reason. And he decides, what, I'm going to come back to camp, but I'm going to start my own agenda. I'm going to take things over, and I'm going to try to convince everybody, hey, being a blank flank, I'll say it because that's what the term they use. They even sing a whole song about it. So apparently this term is no longer an insult if there's a whole song about it. Am I right? So that is so much better than being held to a standard you don't want with a cutie mark you may not want. So now the song, I'm surprised Rumble got a song, number one. But number two, the song wasn't bad. I mean, it's certainly catchy. I mean, and Vincent Tong, if anyone's done songs really well this year, it's Vincent Tong. I mean, with Feather Bangs, with Rumble now. I mean, if Vincent Tong's ever an episode, just give him a song, because he's done some of the best work with songs this season. That for sure. So if Vincent Tong's in an episode, we know we're probably going to get a song. Hey, Tong's song, it rhymes. Sakura. If an episode features Vincent Tong, the likelihood is 100% we will get a song. Ah! I can rhyme too. So anyway, so he sings Blank Flanks Are Better, he tries to convince them, if that they get their mark, they're stuck with it. And he goes after Kettle Corn, which I thought was sad. That, oh, you're going to be haikyuing forever because you got that mark instead of drawing circles. He'll be stuck in this box. So then he draws the literal line in the sand, or line in the dirt in this case, line in the ground. And now he's got his campers. He basically he at first pulls all the campers from their side and convinces them we're the Blank Flank group. We're gonna be on our own. And the Crusaders left with nothing. I mean, completely overrun, outwitted, outplayed, outlasted in survivor form. You just lost your allies. Like, you have nothing now. Rumble just completely brainwashed all of them and just took them from you, because he came up with a better way. So it was just, and Scootaloo, I mean, she goes a little dark here, but she kind of puts it best. She goes, Rumble is a mad pony that must be stopped. I mean, I'm like, whoa, Scootaloo. Okay, maybe not at that level, but okay. I mean, yes, he might have to be stopped, but not a mad pony. Let's not go in the minds of maybe someone like T-Rex or Starlight pre-reform, or Tempest Shadow pre-reform, or what have you. Let's he's not a mad pony. Let's just put it that way. So the CMCs are gaining no ground now. They realize now they don't know what else to do now that Rumble has convinced every pony that Blank Flanks are better. So they decide, what, we need to talk to Thunderlane. We need to tell him what's going on. We need to tell him that, hey, his brother now has caused all this trouble. And of course, Thunderlane is stunned by all of this. Like, he can't even believe that Rumble would do such a thing. But after Sweetie Belle in quick speech form tells Thunderlane what happened, Thunderlane's like, oh boy, I was kind of afraid of this happening. Ever since I became a Wonderbolt, Thunderlane's watching me. He's trying to be like me. He wants, that's really now all he wants and nothing else. So he's just so set on that. But the Crusaders then come up with an idea of their own. Now that they know that information, they're going to try to kind of use that to get the campers back. So, and of course, Camp Blank Flank is not going very well because at first they're still doing the activities they love to do, but then when I think it was Skedaddle that tossed one of the horseshoes and made it. He then's like, oh my gosh, what if I get a cutie mark in it? Well, then Rumble's like, well, then we should do more activities because then you might get one. So then they're just sitting there doing nothing. And then Pipsqueak says, I don't mean to be mean, Rumble, but this camp is kind of boring. So just sitting doing nothing. But then the Crusaders announce, we have a very special guest today. Guess who? Thunderlane is here. So Rumble's brother makes an appearance at camp, and now they get to do activities with Thunderlane. And, of course, they're not going to turn that down. So eventually, one by one, they start coming back over to the Crusaders side of things. And, Rumble's now losing all the momentum that he had originally because his camp just wasn't working out because no one wants to sit around and do nothing. I mean, that's what a waste of life that is. That's really the way it is. That's nothing. So eventually they all go over there except for Rumble. But then they kind of get to him because their last activity of the day is a Wonderbolt obstacle course. Gee, I wonder who that could be for. But they let everyone do it because on the ground, because not every pony has wings. So they're doing that. But then Rumble, of course, eventually comes over because, of course, he can't resist that. And is getting ready to go for it. But then, of course, he sees Thunderlane there. And actually, he sees Thunderlane cooking. Shocker, right? Shocker to Rumble. Because Rumble says, "Well, aren't you going to do the obstacle course?" And Thunderlane says, "Well, yeah, but I already know I'm a good flyer. I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I already know that I'm good. So I thought I could cook for you guys." And he says, "You actually like doing this?" And Thunderlane's like, "Yeah, I didn't at first, but we have someone different cook at Wonderbolt HQ every night. And, I didn't think I'd like it at first, but now I enjoy it. I like it. Since I tried it, I love it." And Thunderlane's like, "You know what? I think there's something, there's more potential in you too than just being a flyer." And that really lifts Rumble's spirits. Again, that brotherly encouragement, that brotherly talk, it's very encouraging, and that lifts Rumble's spirits up. And he takes the spoon, he starts cooking, and eventually, the Crusaders are all like, "Well, Rumble, aren't you gonna, go for the course?" And he's like, "No, I'm cooking right now. Maybe I'll do the course tomorrow." And he's like, "Who knows? I might eventually end up, trying other things." So in the end, with Thunderlane's encouragement, and I love, and again, at the end of the episode, he does the eye raising thing, which is kind of creepy, but in the end, with that brotherly encouragement, Rumble kind of has the coming to light, sees the light moment. So that trying other things is okay. So yeah, so good ending in the end. So again, decent episode, not one of my favorites, but at least a decent episode, and again a decent message that even though you might have one thing you're passionate about, having multiple interests is okay. And I can relate in a way because do I like MLP? Absolutely. I'm proud part of the fandom now. Been proud part of the fandom for 5 years, but I have other interests and other things that I'm passionate about. I'm a Christian, so I'm very passionate about God. I'm passionate sports fan. I love following many sports teams. I'm passionate about music. I love to sing. I have a ton of interests that I follow and enjoy. So so you should never confine yourself to just one thing, because there's so many things in this world to explore, to do, to enjoy. So it's nice that it's a nice lesson from the episode. I will say that much. It's a nice lesson from the episode. So that was a good thing there. But the last two episodes I really, really liked. The last two episodes I thought were really, really done very, very well. Once Upon a Zeppelin, episode 22, fun episode, and mainly because that we get to see Twilight's parents. And again, I'm sorry if I don't remember when we originally saw them, but I never remembered seeing them. Like I mentioned in one of the prior videos, we've seen what happened to Applejack's parents. We saw Rainbow Dash's parents in parental guidance. We saw Fluttershy's parents earlier, and in Flutterbrudder. So really we hadn't seen, again, I don't ever remember seeing Rarities unless I've totally missed it. And then we saw Pinkie Pie's parents, of course, multiple times, especially recently this season in Rock Solid Friendship. But I never remember seeing Twilight's parents, but I'm glad we got to see them in this episode because especially the mom, Twilight Velvet, is she kind of has a Windy Whistle side to her. She's very, except without the cheering, she's very extreme. She likes extreme stunts. Who would have thought? But we see where Twilight gets kind of the book side of things from her dad, Nightlight. But so right away we Twilight's doing this kind of paperwork. I mean, being a princess can be tedious. We've seen that. There's always a lot of tasks to do, and she's clearly doing paperwork of some kind. It's kind of a callback to Triple Threat, because we were mentioning the boring paperwork. But then Spike coughs out a letter. I haven't seen that in forever, and it's from food cough. And it's from Twilight's parents. So I was just blown away by that, because I'm like, whoa, okay, if we finally, at least we finally get to see them. And again, I never recall the previous time, unless it was in passing, that we saw them. I didn't remember it. So it was nice to finally see them. And apparently the whole family gets to go on this cruise. It's very, they apparently want a contest. They want a giveaway of some sort for a family cruise getaway. So it's Twilight that gets to go, her parents. We get to see Princess Cadence, which is awesome, Shining Armor, and of course, cute little Flurry Heart. So all of them get to go on this cruise together for nice family vacation. So very, very cool. Family vacations are awesome. I think, in fact, I've been on a couple myself in the last few years. I went on a cruise myself when I was, when was it? It was actually, it's been a while. It's probably been about 11, 12 years. It was shortly after I graduated high school. I went on a cruise throughout the Caribbean, and that with my mom and my aunt. That was very neat. And then also we went to Myrtle Beach in South Carolina when we drove down there a couple of years ago. So family vacations are awesome. I mean, they're really cool. You get to spend time with the family. You get to experience new places you've never been before. If you have been before, you get to experience them again. Something you've never done before. With me going on, that was my first cruise I've ever been on, and wow, I got to say, cruises are pretty sweet. So I will say that much. So this was cool, but it's kind of tearing at Twilight a bit, because she doesn't want to leave the work behind. She knows it's important how the princess's duties are, but Spike wants her to go. I mean, Spike, is determined. Hey, you need to take a break. You need to take a break from all this princess work. You need to get out of the castle. Okay, you need to get out of here. Go have fun. You need to get out of the castle and have some fun. So Spike agrees to take over the duties while she's gone. But there's a cute line there from Twilight, because she even says, "Well, I don't want to leave you, Spike. You're just as much part of the family as anybody." So I was like, "Oh, that was a cute moment." So Twilight's off to pack and gear up and get ready, and apparently it's a Zeppelin, because apparently in Equestria, cruises are done on airships. Who would have thought? So we have Zeppelins here, and so then we finally see her parents. So Twilight Velvet is her mom, and she's into these extreme stunts. And so I think her and Rainbow's family, being, her, Rainbow Dash, Windy Whistles, Bo Hot Hoof, and Scootaloo would probably definitely get along, because she's into these extreme stunts. Apparently she's gone into I think Nightlight mentioned that she's gone into like a barrel roll over Luna Bay Falls. So that was definitely something. So we see Nightlight, and he, Nightlight seems a little more kind of the complete polar opposite of Twilight Velvet. He's kind of more into, again, we kind of see where Twilight's love of books came from, because her dad, he kind of makes the comment, "Oh, I was actually telling Twilight about this, book this bingo strategy book that I've been reading." So apparently he's a big time bingo player, and I was reading. So that's where Twilight got her love of books from. And then we had this running gag all throughout the episode, where unfortunately Shining Armor is airsick. And I'm sure, as some of you know that have been on cruises and whatnot, or on an airplane, if your body can't handle being on a boat rocking on the waves, or in the sky on an airplane, and you feel that sickness, that's what can happen. And Shining Armor tries he might to admit that he's not. It keeps popping up all throughout the episode. So that just continues to be a running gag throughout the episode, how airsick Shining Armor gets. So yeah, that becomes just this continual theme throughout the episode. So everyone gets on board, everyone, takes off, and we kind of hear a familiar voice on the PA. And also they come into their suite, and Twilight's parents kind of surprised they got such like a nice suite. I mean, it's really nice. It's like luxury, like one of the VIPs or something. So it's very, very nice. They don't remember how they found their way into that. It was just sign the paperwork, no questions asked. I sensed a snooker. I sensed right away that kind of something was up here, and the captain's voice sounded very familiar, and it kind of sounded like Iron Will. I didn't know at first, but then later find out that it is. So, yeah, that was interesting. But of course, Twilight being scheduled, has it all planned out. And what was interesting, and I think Applegate made this point in his review too. The schedule kind of looked like a convention schedule. It kind of, it very much, I see it like, wait a minute, that kind of looks like how Winnie City had theirs laid out in a way with all the colors and stuff. So it kind of reminded me of that a bit. So, but she's got things all planned out, an activity for every pony, and so all the one they can enjoy. But Twilight, of course, is determined to see her activity at the end, and that's seeing the Northern Stars, which I assume is kind of our equivalent of the Northern Lights in a way, or like a meteor shower, or kind of an aurora, kind of that kind of thing. So it kind of ties in to that. So Twilight is very much hoping that as long as everyone else is happy, doing their activities, that she can be happy as well if she gets to enjoy her activities. So she wants everyone, of course, to have a good time. But yeah, so you later find out, yes, that Iron Will is the captain, and they head back out on deck because Iron Will's giving a tour of every city they pass by, and he's kind of like boasting about Twilight's accomplishments to every pony, Twilight's accomplishments, cadences, and all that, and that's very interesting. But he's also kind of stretching the truth a bit. He's not really getting all of these rights, and which Twilight and Cadence kind of pick up on right away. Because he even goes so far as to mention that Twilight and Shining Armor were born in Canterlot, which we know is not true. So apparently, as we find out, once Twilight realizes she's had enough and she needs to find out who's doing the voice announcements, she barges in. And turns out, yep, she runs right into Iron Will. Because apparently this is a fan cruise. This is a fan thing for kind of a princess celebration for Twilight and Cadence. So that hence why Iron Will wanted them on board so bad, because, they wanted every pony to see them. So clearly this is another one of Iron Will's schemes. We remember when we first saw Iron Will, he was doing like the assertiveness, the motivation, the seminar thing with that, and that eventually flamed out apparently. So now he's doing the cruise director thing because, of course, because he's got to find a job somewhere, right? So, and so they are. So the awkwardness level just got turned up. It just got turned up to 11 as a result of all this. So this is lovely. So it turns out, because that we can relate to this in real life, the family did not read the excuse me, they didn't read the fine print. It was in the fine print and they didn't read it. I mean, who reads fine print? I mean, really, who doesn't anything? Well, maybe this is a lesson now that we should read fine print now. So of course Twilight is not very fond of all of this, but Iron Will then basically tells her, well, you know what, if you don't like it, if you don't like all this, we can completely cancel, we can let down everyone out there that came on board just to see you guys. But Twilight, of course, knowing that she's a princess, knowing that she's held to this higher standard, doesn't want to disappoint all these ponies that came on board. So she kind of makes a deal with the DeWill. You see what I did there? A deal with the DeWill. And she agrees to, okay, I will do then whatever activities you want me to do, whatever prince activities you have, but let my family do what they want to do. Don't rope them into all this. Let them do what they want. Let them enjoy their time. I'll do what you want me to do. And of course, Shining Armor is like, no, you don't have to, sis, you don't have to do that. Don't do that. Like, no, Twilight's like, no, I want everyone else to be happy. I will do what you want me to do, so I don't disappoint them. So, so what could go wrong there, right? Well, eventually this leads into a hilarious series of events, kind of like a series of unfortunate events, at least for Twilight. The first thing she has to do is she gives away a raffle prize. She has to, not knowing what it is at first, but she gives away this raffle to a cult named Star Tracker, who's in the crowd, and apparently is just very much obsessed with Twilight, and guess what the prize is? The prize is Twilight. He gets to spend the day with her as an honorary member of the family. Great. So, and let me tell you, he was kind of bordering on stalker-like levels. Like, really, it was kind of creepy. And every scene he was in, it was just being very, very creepy. But I gotta admit, his kind of affection for Twilight, it was pretty cute. It was pretty freaking cute. I'm gonna admit, it was kind of cute. But I was really getting the sense here that not participating in things with her family was really wearing on Twilight's psyche a bit. And as it turned out later, I was right. But seriously, though, and with Twilight Velvet again doing an activity where she was, again, barrel rolling again over one of the falls. Twilight Velvet and Wendy Whistles need to be an episode together. Come on, Hasbro, let's make it happen. Twilight Velvet, Wendy Whistles, an episode together. Make it happen. And then Twilight eventually, and Star Tracker, who continues to be with them, Twilight has to run a bingo game where her dad takes part. And then also, she runs into Cadence again, and Cadence and Flurry Heart are doing their playtime together, which is great. And Cadence, they're trying to convince Twilight really, really hard that, she shouldn't be putting all this pressure on herself. She shouldn't be doing all this. She needs to enjoy herself too. This is just as much her vacation as it is theirs, but she's under this, literal pressure from Iron Will and those other ponies because she made this deal. So, she feels like, again, she has the weight of Equestria on her shoulders. But Twilight's like, no, I got this, as, it's a wink. But, as long as I get to see the stars tonight, I'll be fine. As long as I get to do that tonight, as long as I don't miss that, I'll be fine. So you get a sense later on in the line that she's probably going to miss that. So finally, Twilight has one activity left to do, and that's doing an autograph session for every pony. So just sign all these, all these different things. And guess what? It runs long. It goes so long, and eventually Twilight misses the Northern Stars and misses her activity. So that, of course, is Twilight's breaking point. That becomes her, moment of just breaking. Oh yeah, everyone else, you're all happy. My family's happy. Iron Will is happy. Because everyone else is so happy. Star Tracker's happy, but guess who's not? Me. Because, I missed the one thing that I wanted to do, because I was, because of all this, I missed what I was here for. And she, does it in not so gracious princess way. She's, obviously mad, storms off, frustrated. She steps on Star Tracker's hoof and screams at him and takes out her anger on him, which was kind of a bad thing to do. But in the end, Cadence becomes our voice of reason. Thank you, Cadence. We don't forget about you. Many in the fandom might think, oh, Cadence is kind of the forgotten princess because we love Celestia, we love Luna, and of course we love Twilight, but we don't see Cadence very often. But thankfully, thank you, Cadence, for reminding us you can be a voice of reason. Wow, we appreciate you, Cadence. And she reminds Twilight that, yes, there will be plenty of obligations of being a princess. We know this. It's not an easy job. We know this. But she still has to be obliging to herself. She still has to, give herself some time, give herself some opportunities, not be held, not let it wear on her so much. And this higher standard. So she has to oblige herself. And eventually Twilight's, is like, I gotta fix this. I gotta make things right. I gotta, get myself out of this somehow. So she apologizes to her family. She apologizes to Star Tracker for taking out her anger on him, and for not standing up for herself when really she had the chance to do so. And then she stuns every pony. She says, "Why don't we do something off the schedule?" Twilight going off the schedule. OMG. And that was just stunning to every pony. And even includes Star Trekker in it. They all go for ice cream together. And of course, ice cream brings family together. So that was real nice. And Twilight even gave Star Tracker a hug. Aw. I ship it. I'm sure there's tons of fan art now on DeviantArt of Twilight and Star Tracker. Yes? No? I haven't really seen much, but maybe there is. But I found it cute. And eventually, and Iron Will comes back on the board and tells everyone to come for ice cream. But Twilight's like, okay, enough of this foolishness. Really pulls the mic away, says, thanks everybody for coming out, but I want to spend the rest of the time relaxing with my family. And I wish I was respectful of that. And they're like, well, of course, but why didn't you just say so in the first place? Why was this advertised then as this experience? And then, of course, Iron Will gets turned on because of that as a result. And he gleefully throws himself overboard to avoid getting any trouble because now he knows he's found out. And the family does a cool thing in the end. A great ending to this episode as well. The family then, seeing how much Twilight wanted to see it, they actually dress up like the Northern Stars, even shining armor. So a testament to how much he's committed to his sister. He even does so even in his air sickness. He does that. So great ending, great episode. Loved every minute of it. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. And then last Saturday's episode, Secrets and Pies. Yeah, this one. What more can you say? It's Pinkie Pie being Sherlock. I mean, it was something else. And Rainbow Dash, again, was the criminal, but in this case, she kind of was it kind of was kind of a throwback in a way to Rarity Investigates, where she was charged for a crime she didn't commit, but here it was pretty obvious, at least at first. So basically, we see Pinkie Pie is planning baking pies for something. She apparently, like I said, she uses a party for everything or a pie for every occasion, apparently. And she's been giving pies to Rainbow Dash on special occasions. And apparently now she's doing one for her 73rd Wonderbolt training session. How specific, right? And then even in Twilight and Rainbow Dash, you make mention of how specific it is. But it's Pinkie Pie. Man, again, we don't question it. So she goes to all this effort, all this trouble, just to make Rainbow happy. Aw, I mean, that's just cute. That just goes, again, to show how dedicated Pinkie is to her friends, being that element of laughter and making her friends happy. That's really Pinkie's side coming out. Because apparently Rainbow loves her pies. She's made apparently, a lot of them for Rainbow, and apparently Rainbow appreciates them. So Pinkie then goes to all this effort to make this big old pie for Rainbow, and after the 73rd Wonderbolt training session, and actually Rainbow gets some pretty nice high praise from Spitfire, which is awesome. Pinkie then surprises Rainbow with this pie, and Rainbow seems really appreciative. Rainbow's very very respectful and takes it and seems to eat a slice of it, it seems. But to me, right from the start, it seemed a bit off. It really did. Rainbow was talking a big game. She was talking all this, how much appreciative she is. But, there's all these actions she's making, kind of these excuses that, maybe she doesn't like them after all. I kind of got that vibe right away. And sure enough, that's then what we see, because as soon as Rainbow then goes back into the academy with the pie in tow, garbage guy comes out and the pie is right in the garbage. So it's clear that Rainbow may not like these after all. That is not going to make Pinkie Pie very happy. So we clearly have another investigation episode here on our hooves. So again, I put here Rarity investigates part duh, except with Pinkie Pie. And once again, Rainbow seems to be the criminal. This time it looks like she's legit a criminal because she's not coming across as appreciative as it seems. So she's not actually eating the pies that Pinkie Pie is giving to her. So, now Pinkie is thinking, she's going through all these, wild scenarios. Was Rainbow Dash replaced by, is there an imposter that is replacing her? Or was she brainwashed, But then she makes a comment like, Rainbow Dash hates washing. And we're like, wait, what? That's kind of odd. Okay, TMI there. But she's going to get to the bottom of this somehow. She has to figure out what in the world is going on. Why did this happen? Why is it happening? Is Rainbow Dash really enjoyed any of my pies at all? This doesn't seem right. And we start to see a trend here. We really start to see it's not just as they say, it's not a blip on the radar. It's actually a trend. Pinkie has given Rainbow pies before on tons of different occasions, on her birthday, on her half birthday, on her, or on a it's not your birthday, but here's a pie anyway day, because Pinkie just makes that kind of stuff up. And Rainbow's finding these creative ways to just ditch them, like, whether it's, just tossing it aside or flipping it off the table or, using a catapult, going to all this trouble just to eliminate these pies, because it's pretty clear now that Rainbow Dash is not fond of pies. And Rainbow does it by distracting her for a few seconds, like, look over there, or oh my gosh, what's that? Or something to that effect, and Pinkie gets distracted. And so then gets rid of them. So clearly Dash is just not fond of pie. So now we see the hat come back and Sherlock Pinkie's on this case. So she starts doing her interrogations, her investigations. And first off, the Wonderbolts get interrogated. Poor Spitfire. We see Spitfire, Soren, Fleetfoot all together, and they get interrogated. But eventually they can give her some answers. Tank's vet, Dr. Fauna, who we saw in Fluttershy Leans In, is on the case, is explaining symptoms of a sugar overload by Tank. I wonder where that could have come from. And Cheerly's class is even receiving pie donations from Rainbow. So this is all kind of adding up to, I think we kind of see a trend here that Rainbow Dash is not fond of pie. So that is going to just straight up crush Pinkie's bubbly soul and spirit. So eventually Pinkie Pie realizes this, that it's all figured out, from one to the other. She realizes now that Rainbow Dash does not like her pies, and she's been lying the whole time. So obviously that is devastating to Pinkie Pie. So she lets out a scream. Well, Applejack hears it, comes into Sugar Cube Corner, and then she dives into the cave underneath. Oh gosh. So I gotta tell you for a minute. So she then goes down in the party planning cave underneath, and but she mentions, though, to Pinkie that she thinks she has seen Rainbow eat a pie before, but has she really? And honestly, what Applejack lie would be in the element of honesty, although we've seen her, have experience with lies before, and also being too honest and honest apple. So, and then we get this kind of weird dream, weird nightmare sequence where Rainbow Dash just looks like a really bad OC. Like, it is this evil nightmare form. I think Apple gave me in the comment like it was Nightmare Dash, something like that. So, and that, to me, it was, other people laughed. I found it creepy. I'm sorry, because I'm an RD fan, and I found that really, really freaking creepy. So I did not like that scene at all. But Pinkie then kind of comes up with this wild plan. She has, I'm going to make so many pies now that I'm going to just catch Rainbow in the act. So she has this plan in place. I'm going to make so many. I'm going to catch her in the act of trying to get rid of them in front of me. How can that go wrong? Well, Rainbow apparently is always one hoof ahead of her because she always finds a way to, to get rid of them. And she's going to these major extremes. She just put one right in front of her bed, but then, Rainbow gives Pinky flowers, makes her sneeze, boom, puts it in the tube. Tank gets it again. Poor Tank getting force-fed pie. And then there was another scene where, just where she's on top of this pie pyramid tower, and Rainbow has to save her from the pyramid falling off. But of course, Rainbow being a Pegasus just flies up there and takes her down. And of course, Pinky all the more is growing all the more frustrated. The faces are getting weirder. It's just getting more and more awkward. And and so it was just, that was just. But she's outsmarted. So she's outsmarting every attempt. And then even in split seconds, where the weird blinking scene, where the time just stopped, like it looked like Dash was kind of killing time. Should I take a small bite or a large bite or a medium bite? Then do you have any milk? And then Pinkie Pie, who hadn't blinked for forever, finally blinks, and in the blink of that eye, Rainbow Dash ties the pie up to balloons, puts it up there, and sends it away. But then Pinky's had enough. She realizes, what? Okay, if I can't outsmart you, I'll just call you out. So she decides, what? No, I know you hate my pies. I know you hate them. So I'm calling you out now. And because of timing, after that whole conversation, the pie falls out of the sky, lands on Pinky, and Rainbow's busted. And Pinky no longer wants to hear any excuses, any explanations, anything. She knows that, that Rainbow's been lying to her now. So clearly, not only is Pinky crushed, but now with Rainbow's guilty conscience kicking in, she feels terrible that she has lied this whole time to Pinkie Pie. But Rainbow, she kind of had a good reason. She didn't want to tell Pinky that she didn't like the pies because she felt it would crush her already, because she didn't want to, hurt Pinkie Pie's feelings. But in this case, it's kind of the opposite effect by not telling her and trying to be, honest, trying to, lie this whole time about liking them, actually eating them. It kind of did more damage than it should. So again, it's kind of like a lie doing more damage than the actual truth. So we've seen that multiple times this season. So so now Rainbow, is going to has to try to figure out a way to kind of earn Pinky's trust back and earn her loyalty back in a way. Being the element of loyalty herself, she has to find a way to earn Pinky's loyalty back to her. So Rainbow then comes up with this crazy idea to, first off, apologize to Pinkie Pie, which she does, because lying is wrong and should have been more forthright, and and all that. And I went to a big hassle to get rid of all those pies, but then comes up with this like nasty, disgusting, horrible looking thing. I don't even call it a pie, but it looks absolutely gross. And Rainbow says, "I'm gonna eat this in front of you as a sign of friendship and as a sign that that I want to be loyal to you. I want to to show that I'm I want your friendship back, and I can trust you, get my trust back." Well, Pinky can honestly, and none of us I think either could see Rainbow Dash go through with that. So Pinky can't do that. So she comes out, even though Rainbow is diving in it, about to take that bite of nastiness. But Pinky's like, no, don't do that. I get it now. I understand in a way now why you lied, which I was kind of confused by this. But, Rainbow, she explained, the way she explains it, Rainbow Dash went through a lot of trouble to get rid of the pies because it made her happy to see Pinky happy. Okay, that was kind of maybe for the much, maybe just saying, being appreciative and saying that the good comments, But the effort that Pinky put into making them made her happy to see Rainbow happy. So they were both trying to make each other happy in a way. And so eventually, they, and Pinky's like, well, if you had to go through all that, then, I forgive you. But from now on, you can be honest with me. If you don't like what I make, if you don't like, please tell me. Don't go, don't do all that. And you don't have to eat a nasty pie to do it. So I guess that was a thing. So they give each other a hug in the end, and AJ's Applejack is a great line. Well, I could have told you to be honest from now on. I could have told you that. And then there's a nice cute scene in the end. We're like, okay, well, how about your hugs are too tight? And Pinky's like, no, they're not. It's classic. So I liked that episode. I thought that was really, really neat. I thought that was very cute. So good last 2 episodes. And we've only got a few left. I mean, we've only got a couple more episodes left to go here. So we got 24, 25 coming out at the end, and then I think 26 is the last one. That's the 2-parter. So just got a few more left here in season 7 before we take again another break till season 8. So yeah, so this season has just been, for the most part, mainly killing it with really good episodes. And there's been more good than not so good. There's been a couple meh in between, but aside from that, the season's been really, really good, and I can't wait to see what we're going to get from the last few episodes. So really looking forward to it. Wow, with Monday Night Football tonight, speaking of Colts Titans, everyone's picking the Titans except for Charles Woodson knows the Colts. Interesting. And Hasselbeck's wearing a split jersey. Jeez, that's interesting. All right, so now let me talk about the movie. And again, spoilers follow. So please, if you have not seen it up to this point, or if you've seen all the episodes at this point and you weren't spoiled before then, good. But now I forewarn you that spoilers are coming. So please be aware that as I talk about the movie. A movie at this point seemed inevitable. We're 7 years now into the show. And I became a fan 5 years ago during season 3, and I stumbled upon it, and I became part of the fandom. And now as the show presses on and the fandom grows and the passion is growing, a movie just seemed inevitable at this point. And the trailers gave us these great teasers of what was to come. Seeing this underwater kingdom was one of the first images that was leaked out to the internet, and then the different trailers. We saw new characters. We saw these thrilling different scenes. We saw villains and these dark moments. So it was all very, very much intense. But it's just kind of like a 30-minute episode or 22-minute episode of the TV show. Unless you see the entire thing, you really won't know or understand the whole story. And previous misconceptions you might have to be tossed out the window. That's kind of what happened to me, because I mentioned in my last video that after seeing all the trailers, after seeing the images, after seeing everything like that, I wasn't fond of 2 of the new characters going into the movie, that being Tempest Shadow and Capper. Now, one of those misconceptions changed by the time this movie ended. The other really not so much. So keep that in mind as I continue with this review. But let me say this. The movie is a wild ride to me in 5 different acts. It kind of to me was like, the way it was laid out is like 5 different acts. And there are times where you might want to get off the ride at times in this movie, but you really can't, because every twist and turn this movie takes, it keeps you locked into your seat. Like it keeps you there. Like, I want to get off, but it's like, no, I'll stick it out. I'll keep watching. But once the ride finally ends, you'll be glad you stuck around, because there's a final feeling of satisfaction, of clarity, and the biggest thing, of course, being friendship. It wins in the end. So that's the things that made you become a fan, become part of the fandom. So you realize why you were there. So that's the big thing. That is like, hey, I was glad I saw this. So I will say in the end, I gave the movie 4.5 out of 5 stars. I will say that this movie it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but for the hour and 40 minutes that it's length, it's really good. It is very good. This movie, I guess, in a way, is kind of what the fandom needs, because again, if you're a fan of of MLP, if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of that, and again, and I also mentioned beforehand, that I was not fond of the new animation, and that I really had to look past that to enjoy the movie. Well, it was pretty easy to look past, because again, as I mentioned, it felt like a Pony episode. It had the feel of it. It had the sounds of it, because it had the original voice actors. It had the good storyline. It still had all that, so it was easy to look past the different animation style. Now I will say, am I a fan of it? Not fully, not full-fledged, but I still prefer the show's animation. But it's not bad. It's not like Drek. It's not horribly bad. It's just different. And sometimes when you're used to seeing a style that you enjoy for so long, that you get used to it, and kind of change is hard to embrace. So with this new animation style, I look at it and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm gonna like that, but it's, so I don't know. So I was kind of weird in that at first, but it was easy to look past, because once the movie started, I was just focusing on what was going on the screen. So yeah, I quickly looked past that. And I mentioned it here. Coming into this movie, I had my doubts about a lot of things. Again, the animation style, the backstories of Tempest and Capper, among other things. But again, it was easy to look past that animation, because it still looked and felt like an MLP story. But once it begins, I think, if you're a part of the fandom, you're locked in. You're locked in. You're wanting to see what's going to happen, because even though there's a few bumps from time to time. So Act 1 is what I would call Act 1 is the Friendship Festival. And so they're setting up for in Canterlot, this big thing going on. And in classic Twilight fashion, she's freaking out. She's kind of doing, she's making sure that everything's going to go right. She doesn't want to let this down. It's kind of her first big act as princess. It's just she really wants to do a great job with all of this. But in also classic Twilight fashion, she kind of wants the princess. So she wants Celestia, Luna, Cadence to kind of do these crazy different things with the sun, with the moon, with the lights. For Sia's performance, the Songbird Serenade, for her musical act. So it was. Of course, she has this big old chart laid out, because that's Twilight. We know that side of her. So yeah, she wants it to make it look great. So Twilight, of course, just want to make sure everything's going to go right. And then they had a great opening. They had a great opening song called, I think, like "You Got This" or "We Got This Together," something like that. It was a cool opening song. Not jump off the page, but it worked well enough for the opening. And it pushed Twilight's mind at ease a bit. So everything's looking great. Everything's looking smooth for the festival, and then the darkness arrives, and our villains come into play. And and I knew right away I would love Grubber, the little sidekick played by Michael Pena. I knew from all that I'd seen on him, I would love his character right away. And even though he's there for the side humor pretty much, although he's loyal to Tempest, he's there for the side humor mainly. He announces Tempest's presence and just is very much the henchman. That's his job, and there for the humor. So Commander Tempest Shadow comes out, and voiced brilliantly by Emily Blunt, does a great job. And she basically says, you got to surrender to me, because I need all your magic. I need I need the princess's magic. I need all for you. Doesn't explain, of course, what she needs it for, but she needs it. But again, I'm thinking there's something to do with the fact that we notice her horn's broken, so I'm thinking maybe that's why. I couldn't piece together early, but the ponies think there's just one of you and there's so many of us. But then of course Tempest sends out her army of group, is actually, as we find out later, is for the Storm King. And eventually they're outnumbered, they're overwhelmed, and eventually in the battle, Celestia, Luna, and Cadence are all frozen to stone solid. But Twilight and her friends manage to escape, albeit they fall from a bridge, but they do manage to escape. Twilight nearly gets stoned herself, but someone jumps in at the last moment. So they eventually escape, but pretty much Canterlot has been taken under siege, taken over by Tempest and her minions. So then we kind of jump after that. We go into acts 2 through 4, and this is what I would call the recruitment / the chase, because this now is the part of the movie where now the main six realize what the threat is now to Canterlot and to Equestria. They realize now this evil has taken them over. That they've got the princesses under their supposed control. That they're going to totally take their magic from them. But with Twilight escaping, they can't do what they want to do unless they have all four. So, but they know they're going to be probably chased by Tempest and her minions. But now they realize they need to recruit help from others. So it's the main six encountering these new characters to recruit as allies, but Tempest and the baddies being on their tails. So we first encounter Capper, and as soon as Capper came on screen again, I booed in the theater because I was not thrilled with Capper's backstory. And I mentioned this originally because when you see the words con artist next to a character, you immediately think that they're definitely not on your side. And Capper was just a mystery to me. I mean, he's just very much still in my mind a shady character, because of the fact that it was hard. It was hard to tell, with him, what side he was on. Because he at first he saves them. At first he seems to be on their side because he saves them from getting sold or bought by a bunch of these traders in this village. Because they're looking for things to sell, buy, barter, what have you. So they're wanting to claim them, but Capper steps in and saves them. But then he does eventually, and they return that kindness in return. Rarity does a nice thing for him, fixes his jacket, gives him, I think, a couple new buttons for it. So Capper's obviously very appreciative of that. But then he kind of sees we see his true colors, his true intentions when he tries to sell them to this other magician kind of thing or something. I don't know who it was, but so we see his true colors come out. But eventually, that falls through, thankfully, because then Tempest and Grubber and the minions eventually stumble upon the village. So eventually they, figure out where they need to go next, when they escape from that. But then Capper then steers Tempest and Grubber away from where they're going, and he points them in a different direction. So again, to me, it's very mixed. I didn't know what to gather. Capper was still, of the new characters, not one of my favorites because again, I just very, very mixed character to me. I didn't really. It's like pick a side, pick a lane, Gert, and stay in there. It's like, are you gonna be beneficiary to them or are you not? It was just to me very confusing. So then that to me was Act 2. So then we go into Act 3, where the main six make it aboard a ship. They get to the docks and they get aboard this ship, and they run into this group of pirate birds, or at least used to be pirate birds. This is where we meet Captain Solano and her group and her band of bird pirates, or again, what used to be. And I think she was voiced, I want to say, by Zoe Saldana. Yes, and she did a very nice job as well. But now, of course, instead of being pirates, they are mainly working for the Storm King. I mean, literally, they are working for the Storm King. They're even shelling out his merchandise aboard this ship. So so they at first want to, banish them. They want to, take them over, but eventually, when Rainbow Dash discovers that they were originally pirates, and they kind of just lost their purpose because they now work for the Storm King. They have a great song here called "Time to Be Awesome." This is one of my favorite songs in the movie. Second favorite, actually. I'll mention the favorite here later on, but this is my second favorite song in the movie. "Time to Be Awesome." It's catchy. I mean, anytime Rainbow Dash gets a song, it's cool. Number one, but number two, this was just very upbeat, catchy number. And eventually they free themselves of their bondage to the Storm King, and they go back to their pirate ways. But then Rainbow kind of makes this big mistake because she tries to show off with a sonic rain boom, and Twilight knows right away. She's like, "Oh, no, don't do that, please, because they'll, they're following us, right? The villains continue to track us down." So that alerts Tempest right to their location, and that exposes Capper again for being a traitor to them now because he steered them in the wrong direction. So again, just makes Capper a mystery. So eventually what happens, Tempest, Grubber, and her guards end up boarding the ship, but thankfully, with some ingenuity by Twilight and the rest of the main six, they escape through the bottom of the ship, and they also ingeniously use Spike's flame to kind of make a balloon to get to their next destination, Mount Eris, which Princess Celestia mentioned to go to find the Queen of the Hippos. We later find out the hippogriffs. But then when Tempest encounters the pirates, of course she wants to know where they went to, or is their destination. But of course they're staying their ground now, knowing that they're not going to put up with that anymore. Of course, Tempest, when she's losing everyone, just destroys the ship. So we don't know what happens to the pirate group until later in the movie. But so that was kind of weird, but on that cliffhanger. But Tempest is just not being very happy at this point because you can't get the fourth princess. So then Act 4 introduces us to the Underwater Kingdom, or now the Sea Pony Kingdom, former Hippogriff Kingdom. Our main six enter it, but all they end up seeing is just this utter devastation. They're just so stunned and shocked by it. But they eventually discover this cave, and they hear sounds coming from it. So they know that maybe what the help they're wanting to find is down there. And leave me my favorite new character. Oh my gosh, I loved Princess Skystar. She was absolutely my favorite character. Kristen Chenoweth did a great job with her, and I know some might find her a little bit annoying because her energy, or kind of like that teenager kind of oh my gosh, kind of like so like likes and whatnot. But actually, to me, she was really fun. I loved her energy. I loved her. I love the character's passion. I thought she did a great job. So I love Princess Skystar. And we hear mom, Queen Novo, voiced by Uzo Aduba. And apparently they were also attacked by the Storm King. And so they've been affected by him as well. And now they, after they used to live above ground, but after that was decimated, they then escaped underwater and became the Sea Ponies. And now they are in their helped by this red pearl that keeps that form, and that turns then our main six into Sea Ponies themselves. And I can't show you it now, but actually I got a poster at Walmart, and I'm sure the Walmart sell it. And actually, it's a movie poster with them as in their Sea Pony form. So very, very cool. But I forgot to mention that they are drained then into this kingdom after finding the cave. They're literally drained, boom, down the drain into this kingdom. And Skystar is really wanting him to stay. She wants him, to enjoy. Now, hey, you can be safe down here now. You can be, so the Storm King can't get you either. I mean, he's already taken over your guys' home, but now you can stay here with us. Well, it's like, well, we really need to get back. We can't we can't just let it be like that forever. We need to find a way to get back and save it. But Twilight then says, no, you know what? You make them feel welcome, make them, spend some time with them, make them feel special. So Twilight tells and the others to do that. And then that, Twilight, is kind of thinking in her mind, that pearl could, maybe do us some good. And with all that power, maybe, help us, save our home. So I kind of had a thought that she was going to do something crazy on her own. And sure enough, they sing a nice song. They sing a song called One Little Thing. And it looks like that, the sea ponies are, maybe they're turning things around. They're thinking, okay, maybe we can, come out and help you guys, with this mission. Even Queen Novo starts to come around. But Twilight then makes two huge mistakes, grave mistakes. She tries to steal the pearl herself, which was stupid. To go against everybody to try to save Equestria herself. And then as a result of that, they get expelled from the kingdom. So they go back into their pony forms, and then she gets into a fight with every pony, and even goes as far as say, she didn't need them. And that, of course, that hurts. That's kind of one of the darker moments in the film. That's one of really two where it just kind of takes a turn for the worst. So everyone separates in Twilight as a result of that, and then guess what happens? She's alone. She gets captured by Tempest and her group. So yeah, it leads to that. Thus begins the final act. So that act ends with Twilight screwing up, and as a result, getting captured by Tempest Shadow. So thus begins the Act 5, which to me is the final battle, realization, and reformation. So yeah, it's kind of all those things together into one. Tempest to me gets the best song in the movie. If you've not heard it, open up your eyes. It is an absolute fantastic villain song. There's been a lot of great villain songs over the years done in different movies, by Disney, by Pixar, what have you. That to me is one of the cooler villain songs out there. But in a way, Open Up Your Eyes is kind of ironic. But in a sense that, Tempest is trying to tell Twilight, hey, open up your eyes and see that, being alone and being mighty is the way to be, not having friends who sometimes tend to let you down. But in reality, Tempest's eyes needed to be open. And this is where I understood the fandom's fascination with Tempest Shadow before the movie even started. People were really kind of, falling for Tempest. And I was like, what is this fascination with Tempest? Why is everyone so awesome with Tempest? Why does Tempest Shadow get a Build-A-Bear? Why is everyone so fascinated by Tempest Shadow? I didn't understand that, because I was looking at it from the fact that, oh, she's the villain, that, oh, she's the one taking over. But by the end of the film, that judgment gets completely turned around, and my eyes needed to be open, because I completely misjudged and misunderstood her character and her backstory. Because we see that backstory. But she tries hard to convince Twilight, that, being alone and being mighty, that's the best way to go. And because Tempest lost her friends when she was a filly, when she was young, and she had these two friends that spent all the time together. Tempest then lost her horn. She got into this altercation with this Ursa Minor bear that we've seen before from Trixie, and her horn was broken. And as a result of not being able to put out the magic that she used to be able to do, she still has magic in her horn, but not as strong as it used to be. But as a result of that, she lost her friends. So she felt then very much ostracized from, every pony, and she felt like, that she needed to, she was so determined to, not only, get it back, but she felt like, if I can have all this power, then I could, I don't know what she was planning to do if she got all the power back, because she and the Storm King had a deal apparently. which is why she wanted the Storm King in the first place. If she got all the princess's magic and the Storm King got it, then the Storm King would restore her horns. So that was the arrangement that they had. So Tempest trusted the Storm King to follow through on his end of the deal if Tempest followed through on hers. So it was kind of this, this deal that they had. But Tempest has this thought, so friendship let you down too, just like it did me. So we have that, at least we have that in common. But Twilight knows that she was the one that failed friendship, not the other way around. She's the one that screwed up. So the Storm King eventually then makes his big arrival finally, after we hadn't seen him the whole movie. What we keep talking about, the Storm King, we work for the Storm King, the Storm King. We hear him the whole movie. The Storm King didn't actually appear until the end of the movie, except for one scene where he just pops up in kind of like a video chat kind of thing. But he actually finally makes his appearance. And now that all 4 princesses are there, he ends up getting his, staff in there in this thing, and he takes the magic right out of Celestia, Luna, Cadence, and Twilight. And now he's just overwhelmed with this power. And of course, any villain that's full of power is going to try to do anything they can to, see what it can do. And that's now exactly what he does. And he wants to just finish it off once and for all and create this big old storm and just obliterate everything. And that's what he does. But Tempest keeps trying to remind him, hey, we had a deal. We had something in place. If I get you what you wanted, for you to have this, then you restore my horn. Well, of course, the Storm King then realizes, oh no, I just used you to get that power. You were just a little accessory in my side. You were nothing to me but a sidekick. You were, nothing, except that. You weren't a friend. You weren't an ally. You weren't anything to me except my lackey. And that's really what it was. I just used you to get that power so I could have it. So Tempest obviously is devastated as a result of that. And even though eventually, so then we realize, oh wait, now we know who the only villain is in this movie. It's the Storm King. Tempest was not the villain. She was just, she didn't realize that, in a way she was, but in a way she wasn't, because the Storm King was completely using her. But eventually every pony and everybody else does come back. They come back, the main 5, Capper, Solana, the pirates, Princess Skystar even comes back. We don't see the queen. But they all eventually come back, and now it's just a full-on battle. It is a full-on fight. And there's a point in that where, again, the storm keeps coming, and there's a point where, the staff gets lost, like stuck in a window. Or there's a point where actually before that, the storm's getting so bad that that there is a point where there's the Storm King and there's Tempest hanging off the edge of the Kinderlot Tower, and Twilight has to figure out who to save, and she decides to save Tempest. And Tempest is like, why are you saving me? And Twilight goes, because that's what friends do. Twilight is willing to give Tempest a second chance because she knows in her heart that there is good in her, that she just misunderstands. She's not the bad one. She just got used. She knows there's potential in her to understand friendship and what it really means. The Storm King doesn't. All the Storm King wants is to be in charge, to have that power, to be the true villain. Tempest at least, has, and again, I hate to make the comparison here, but in a way, Tempest and Starlight Glimmer, there really isn't a whole lot of difference. I mean, they both, wanted different things, but here's the thing. I was kind of more forgiving of Tempest than I was of Starlight because, and I mentioned this on Twitter as well, because Tempest was more quick to realize the error of her ways. She was more, I think, forgiving and able to move on and give friendship a chance, I think, quicker than Starlight was. Because Starlight, as we saw early on in season 7, Starlight struggled with her past. It was really a battle for her to put all of that aside. And we don't know if it will be or not, because we don't even know we're going to see Tempest in the show. So we don't know if that's going to be a struggle for her as well. But at least from seeing it in the movie, I was able to forgive Tempest a lot quicker than I was Starlight, because of the fact that Tempest was, I think, quick to embrace the friendship right away. So Twilight saves Tempest, and that's huge, and that's huge on Tempest's mind. So the climax then comes down to this one final moment. The storm is about to wipe Canterlot off the map, off of existence. But then the ponies and Twilight are climbing up to the window. There's the staff stuck in a window, and Twilight's going for it, and Storm King's going for it, and eventually Twilight grabs onto it, sucks them both out of the window, and we think that's it. And so that's kind of a dark moment. We think that's the end. But eventually Twilight emerges with the staff under control. There's this beautiful light moment, and Twilight has it, and it's under control. But of course, the Storm King also makes one more attempt to eventually get it back, and tries to get that green gem that they were doing to freeze her. But Tempest then, taking that, repaying that act of kindness, jumps in, takes it herself, and so she turns. So they both turn into stone. Storm King, boom, breaks. So we assume he's done. But the staff then pulls Tempest back, so she gets, I assume unstonified by that, because we see her fine later on. And Tempest realizes, that she was wrong, that there are people that their ponies can care about her, and agrees she turned to help turn Equestria back to normal. So, because then everyone's like, so now what do we do? And then Tempest goes, we fix everything. That's the long and short of it. And, when everyone turns back to normal, the princesses are back to normal, everything is then turned back to normal. And then the celebration goes on without a hitch. And I honestly thought in that moment, I thought that Twilight was going to return the favor even more by actually giving Tempest her horn back. I thought she would actually, in that moment say, maybe we have enough magic to get your horn back. But then Twilight makes the comment, that horn, that is just fine the way it is, considering the power that it already has. It was just fine the way that it was. And maybe I was overthinking that as well. Maybe the fact that, it should be, being accepting of the way you are. If something is already fine the way that it is, then it doesn't need to be fixed. It need to be changed. It's like, I know it's kind of a way from if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Which in this case, the horn was broken, but it also really didn't need fixed because it still had a lot of power in it. So Twilight realized that and then said, well, I think it's fine just the way it is. It doesn't need to be fixed because it's still got a lot of power. So, but as long as you use that power for good and not evil. So kind of like Starlight not using her magic for evil purposes. So again, it was kind of along the same lines. So, but again, I was able to forgive Tempest a little quicker because she was so quick to accept friendship and give it a chance. So I think definitely in the future I'll be getting a Tempest plush probably in the future. I'm hoping to get the Tempest Build-A-Bear at some point, maybe even the Starlight one too, because I am starting to warn a Starlight. It took me a while, but I am starting to warn her. And I've got to find a lighter one. And I know it's going to be hard to find. I'm probably have to get one again from Budsies, but those I'm definitely going to be getting very soon. So all in all, very solid movie. Great for any member of the fandom. You'll love the songs. You'll relate to the new characters, and you'll enjoy the story. As long as you can navigate again past a few bumps in this movie, you'll be reminded in the end why you love the show, because that's the thing, because friendship's magic, and that's just the great thing about it. And like I said, with the fact that the four of us were the only ones in the theater that day, we were really able to enjoy the movie a lot more with it just being the four of us instead of being like a packed house full of, you know, kids, adults, families, that kind of thing. So we were able to enjoy it more because of that. So, all right. So that is it, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in, for your reviews, all your subscribers. You guys are awesome. I know, again, it was lengthy, but I had, you know, so much to discuss with these episodes and then my breakdown of the movie. So, again, the links, I apologize in advance, but I hope you can just really, you know, appreciate and dissect what I take from these episodes and from the movie. Again, if you've seen it, you know, it's if you haven't, and you know, it's a must see. You know, if you like the show, if you're a proud part of the fandom, you will like this movie. I really think that you will. So and again, the episodes in season 7 just keep getting better on a week-by-week basis. Again, we've had some great episodes this season, and I can't wait to see what the rest of season 7 holds. So thank you guys again so much, and I will see you again later this week. I will see you on Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time for the Week 7 preview of the Fantasy Football Stock Report. That will be on Wednesday night again, 8 o'clock. I'll do prep work tomorrow to prepare for that. So, yeah, I will see you guys then on Wednesday night. So, thank you so much. Have a great night, and I will see you again on Wednesday night. Spiky Dash is out.